Hello, my name is Troy Adu here,
I'm Tyler Hoskins.
and you're listening to our Sick Ass podcast. And kia ora, welcome back to another episode of the Sick Ass podcast. Today's guest, he has also been through the beloved phys ed school, but as we had a little discussion earlier, it's not what it seems like, but then it ended up seeming like what it was. So today's guest is actually someone that, similar to the Stephen Booth episode, we're all quite close and we used to do quite a bit of training together, and these people both had mindsets that I just would aspire to have, and I think there's a lot that people can get out, so just your everyday people and what they can do to actually try to excel to that second part or another level of their brain, just based on little things that you can do with your attitude. So today's guest is Mr. Josh Fallon. Thank you for coming on, brother.
No worries, mate.
So just on the Fallon thing, we actually had a discussion about this earlier. So I remember when I was marking, because I was your lab demo for a bit, and I had to give back your book, and I remember you came in and there were two Joshes in the class, and I had to talk about you, and I didn't know how to say your last name, and then when you did come on, I was like, oh, is it Fallon or Fallen?
Yeah, it's Fallon.
And then we had a discussion about this. So have you ever had that mixed up?
Yeah, so a lot of times I guess people say Fallen when they first read it because that's how it's spelled. Which is kind of funny. So if someone says Fallon, it's kind of like, you think that they're taking the piss out of you.
Yeah, because I think I heard someone say Fallon once, and I just carried it from there on. I was like, okay, if someone else said Fallon, I'm saying Fallon.
Yeah. So I guess... Yeah, I think there's maybe a couple. There's not too many Fallons around.
Right.
Not that I know of anyway.
Yeah.
So for people to kind of get it right is kind of a bit odd.
Yeah, because it's got the E, so if you read it, it would be like Fallen.
Yeah,
right?
it's spelt Fallen, directly Fallen. And on my name tags or anything like that, people are like, oh, is it meant to be your name or is it like a tribute to something fallen or something like that? Yeah.
Sure. So and on that, I guess where that comes out the most would be roll calls. And so we think about high school now and we go back to high school. You actually had an interesting time at high school. If people were to know you now, and then they hear about what it was like actually growing up, kind of not really through childhood, but through high school and people trying to turn into adults and find their clique and kind of find their groove in life. That it's a bit of a difficult time, but then also the time that can really make you. So you just want to have a little discussion about that.
Yeah, well, so I was from a small town called Mangaweka, and my primary school was maybe 30 people. So I was kind of I was the fast kid at school.
Oh,
there was 30 kids, so it didn't really matter. And then I went to a boarding school in Palmerston North, so Palmerston North Boys High. And that was I think 1,600 people.
Sure.
So going from this kid that actually thought he was fast to probably one of the slowest people you'd meet was kind of funny. And I was really small, super small. And so for my first maybe 3 years of high school, I was really small. I didn't grow at all. I remember Mum told me a few times, she used to pray that I'd get bigger because I just didn't grow.
Yeah. And
they gave me the smallest blazer at school, and it was still over the top of my fingertips.
Damn.
I was tiny. And I don't think I ever have had good posture. I think most people notice that as well. Some people don't. They don't notice it, and I tell them, and they're like, "Oh, okay, I didn't really notice." But so I slouch a lot, and so being that small kid that slouched, I guess that promoted a lot of when you're little, kids they pick anything.
Yeah, kids are assholes, man.
Yeah. So people picked on that quite a bit, and coming from a small town where I was, I guess, babied a little bit from my parents.
Sure.
Coming from that to get a boarding school where you don't see your parents for the first 4 weeks anyway. And then having I guess people taking the mickey out of you, just trying to make fun of you all the time. Got a lot at first. I'd ring my mum crying, I want to come home. And a couple of times I did that, and I remember one time Dad was like, "You can't keep doing that because it's upsetting your mother." And I was like, "Oh, my bad." But I just wanted to get out of there. But I guess that went on for about two years. After a while, you kind of just... One of the coping mechanisms, I guess I found, which I've heard from a few people as well, is that you make fun of yourself. Because if you're making fun of yourself, then people try to make fun of you. It's not as not as funny.
Sure.
If I walked in, I was like, oh yeah, I'm because the biggest one was people call me a hunchback. And if I'd walk in, I was like, yeah, I'm a hunchback. Then no one's going to be like, oh, they just stole my joke. So they can't really say it anymore. So you kind of say that to yourself, which is, it stops the bullying, but at the same time, it makes you start to believe that they're right because you're telling yourself that.
Yeah.
So that's kind of, I guess, a good coping mechanism to make it stop, but not to accept it yourself. So I guess it was trying to move past that point as well. But it wasn't till about sixth form that I actually had a bit of a growth spurt. Started boxing as well. I started boxing a little bit earlier, but people started to find out that I did boxing around sixth form. And spontaneously, all the bullying stopped. Yeah.
Once they found out that you could take care of yourself.
Yeah, yeah. Well, once I started, because our school did boxing tournaments.
Oh, right.
So I think we were one of the only schools that did it.
Yeah.
But I went and sat down and the students sometimes, if there was no coaches around, the student would sit in the coaching seat.
Yeah.
And I went and sat in the seat one time because the coach or the ref was my coach. And he's like, jump in the seat. So I went and jumped in the seat. Everyone's like, what's going on? And then they're like, why were you in the seat? And I was like, I trained with him. I've trained for like a year or two. And they're like, oh.
Yeah. So you're their boss dog status now.
Yeah, yeah. And so I sat in that seat all like chest up. Yeah. Call me hunchback now. But yeah.
So up until that point, what actually led you to be like, did you think it was something within you because of what was happening that you're like, oh yeah, I should probably take up some sort of combat? Or were you always just kind of interested in it?
I remember specifically there was two guys that were about my size, maybe a little bit bigger, in mid fourth form to start of fifth form. And we were in like the rec room one time and one of them was going to boxing. And I was like, oh, do you mind if I take
yeah.
And so I thought maybe if I do something like this, I guess it's one way to meet new people. And I was never good at rugby or anything like that because I wasn't fast and I wasn't big. So I played like under 50 kg rugby a couple of times and I was most improved. But, but that's not really like, that kind of grade. It's, so I was like, well, maybe I'll try and figure out a sport that is more like self-directed. Yeah. Like it's, you get out what you put in. Because rugby and stuff's a bit more teamwork. Like,
sure,
you focus around your playmakers and stuff like that. You work well as a team. But in boxing, it's like, there's no one else there. Yeah. Like you have to do it all yourself. Yeah. So that was one thing. And then I guess just some of my friends were doing it. Yeah. Like I saw a couple of people in my class there as well. And so when I saw them going, I was like, okay, maybe I'll keep going along. It's a good social environment. Enjoyed it as well. Good to sweat up and stuff. So, kept pushing through with it and noticed, I guess, when the bullying stopped and it built a lot of confidence. So,
and just on that confidence, do you reckon it was probably like not only the fact that you could handle yourself in combative situations, but also probably because you had that confidence, like it was a double whammy that other people started to notice that in you?
Yeah, I guess once people know, like, okay, they can do this, because there's two kinds of fighters that you see anyway. There's like the people that are quite confident, right? And you don't really want to go and we don't mess with them anyway because they're not like bullies or anything like that. So you leave them alone. Yeah. But then there's those real jumpy dudes that are like fighters. But some people sort of test them a little bit more because they've got that edginess about them and you're like, oh, like, all right, then it sort of brings it out of you. So having the confidence as well as the fighting skill, I feel like people leave you alone a lot more. Sure. Whereas if you just have one or the other sort of thing, it's not as much. Yeah. So the confidence built over time. Like, only problem was with like a striking sport, I guess, is compared to something like a grappling sport. I feel like you see a little bit more ego. Right. Because people, like, I mean, you just watch strikers like boxing or Conor McGregor, stuff like that. They're real like in your face and like real jumpy sort of dudes compared to like jiu-jitsu dudes and stuff. They're a lot more soft-spoken. Yeah. And like, they know they can sort of handle you. And I feel like it's just because there's a lot more room for error in striking. Sure. Like, everyone has some sort of idea on how to throw a punch. Right. And if you throw a wild punch, it can hit. But if you're in like a grappling sport, it's like a lot more controlled.
Yeah, you really need to know what you're doing. Like, you need to know how to minimize space, whereas, like, everyone has the space when you're striking.
Yeah,
So, like,
yeah.
anyone could just, at any point...
Yeah,
like,
just windmill a punch and it's going to hit you.
And then, like, it manages to hit, and then all of a sudden, you're the biggest, baddest dude in the
Yeah,
room,
yeah,
even though you
exactly.
had no idea what you were doing.
Yeah. So, like, back to the confidence thing, I guess, going from, like, a boxing thing, it helped with confidence a lot.
Sure.
But it also started bringing out that, like, you go over the top and you start getting aggressive towards people.
Right.
And so I remember, like, coming out of that bullying stage, there were a few people, like, after a few times, that start to try to be nice to you.
Right.
But then instead of being like, okay, I'll accept it and, like, take your apology kind of thing, you're kind of like, nah, screw you.
Yeah.
Like, you turn it back on them and you're like, the thing is, you don't want to become that bully now.
Right.
And I think that was, like, one of the key things for me going through was not turning back into that bully.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, because it'd be easy to, right? You see, like, years and years and years of all of this happening to me, and now because I was the victim for so long, I'm going to make you the victim. So
Yeah.
And you didn't do that?
No, I'm complete opposite now. So I'm hard up stopping that kind of stuff.
That's
I don't
awesome.
like seeing people be bullied.
Yeah.
Yeah, no. There's, like, certain cases, but I'm not a big fan of
That's
it.
awesome, man. And then so I know after high school, and it's probably a good thing that you got into that and you started to realize that about yourself, because you didn't go straight into university. So you've completed university now, and another post grad degree, but we'll talk about that soon. But you went and you joined the army, and what was the kind of the idea around that? So when you left high school, what was the thought process with all of that?
Yeah, so it wasn't until, like, 5th or 6th form, we had to do a goal setting thing in high school as well. And so that's kind of where I got the idea of the military. It wasn't directly from that. Like, my dad watched army movies all the time.
Yeah.
So I was like, I used to love watching that kind of stuff. And then the army was, like, I wanted that fast-paced lifestyle. So I was like, okay, well, what kind of fast-paced jobs are there? And I guess the army's kind of the forefront of that. Like, you're running around chasing people, doing whatever, that kind of stuff. And so moving from school, I went and lived with my sister for half a year, just while I was doing the process. And then joined up, did my basic training in Wairuru, and I saw that as an opportunity to leave all that past bullying behind.
Yeah.
So I went, all right, well, I'll turn up here, and if anyone tries to bully me, I'll just slap it down from day one.
Yeah.
And so I remember one of my best friends now, Hugo McCarthy, he came in and he made fun of my name on the first day, and he was like, oh, what a fallen, and I was like, that's a cool joke, bro. And just flat face, and that's cool, bro. And he was just like, oh. But, so I was like, yeah, nah, not taking any of that kind of stuff. And I was like, just built myself up a lot more. And but I didn't want to be that fake person. So I didn't build myself up to the point where I was like, I've done this, this, and this.
Yeah.
So I just built myself up a little bit more than I used to, like, be. So I had that confidence. But then once again, that confidence comes a bit more to your ego, especially in the military, where it's just such a testosterone-filled environment.
Sure.
It's just a ton of dudes that run around and shoot guns, and you're like, yeah, I'm the man now. So coming out of high school, I guess that was a big thing for me. It definitely increased my confidence, and that I don't know if that was the reason I wanted to go in. I don't know if I wanted to just boost my confidence through the military, but it definitely did it for me anyway. And so you do the basic training, and you come out of there, and you've learned all these things like how to fire a weapon, how to throw a grenade, whatever. Then you move into the actual military life. So there's a massive difference. Like, basic training is nothing like what the actual military was.
Yeah.
You wake up at 5:30 on basic, and you're doing stuff day in, day out, just constant, rushing around, discipline, everything like that. Then I got to camp for the regular force, and I went in as a driver, and was a little bit of a shock at first. They were like, yep, turn up to work at this time, just be there. And so you have to do everything else self-directed beforehand. But then you start getting those Fridays you finish at lunchtime and stuff like that, and you're like, well, what do I do with my free time?
Right.
and you've just come off basic training as well, so you've got a little bit of savings. So the first thing you do is just go and buy a massive TV and just sit in your room and play video games.
Yeah.
And if you're not doing that, it's just the drinking culture.
Sure.
So you just get on a massive, that's pretty much my time there anyway, was just a 2-year bender.
It's so interesting because you think that when you get into like regular training and stuff, you've graduated from like the stepping stone into it. So you're like, okay, from here it must be like a progression up.
Yeah.
So like we're going to get there, it's going to be even harder, and then you get there and almost like the discipline that you learn is in a different way. Like now you have to self-manage yourself.
Yeah.
So you did 2 years of just like TV, playing games, but then also pissing up.
Yeah, and the thing is, like, they cook your food for you. You have to do PT every day.
Right.
So that was a good thing, because otherwise you kind of lose it. But then you also have that mentality of just gym. Like everyone wants to go to the gym. Or at least just some of the people I was around did that. So you'll do your PT in the morning, and then if you wanted to lift weights, you're going to lift weights as well. And it was just like, it was almost like a different kind of high school, because there was like the groups and everything that still all over again.
Yeah. And
so it's just like you're hanging out with your mates, but you're working at the same time. Like there's times where it was like not fun. Like you have the times where you get days off, like you finish at lunchtime, you can do whatever you want, and you go to the bar or something like that. But then there's other times when you're like in the field for a couple of weeks, and you don't have like some people take their phones, but you don't have your phones, and if you do, you need like a portable charger and stuff like that. But you can't really use them, and you're just doing other stuff like labouring work, digging holes and stuff like that. And so that kind of part of it is like a lot of hard work. But then you don't have to self-discipline once again, because you're in like you're being told what to do. Yeah. So I didn't really gain too much self-discipline in the military.
Yeah.
As much as people think you would, like you'd get that self-discipline. Like you have it to get up and make sure you shave and have a shower and keep your like kit clean. But when you're at work, it's like do this, do this, do this. It's real micromanaged. So you don't have to be able to tell yourself, all right, I need to make sure I'm doing this and keeping up with this and keeping up with this. And that almost makes, when you get home, you're just like, I just want to chill out. I don't really want to do anything else.
Sure.
Yeah.
Yeah. So how is it that you then transition, well, from everything that you've learned and just kind of channel that discipline so that you can, I don't know, end up kind of upgrading yourself so that you're not just stuck in that trap of like, when I'm not getting told what to do, I don't do anything?
I don't even like it. Just one day I was kind of like, I just need to, I didn't want to go back to that kid getting bullied, just doing nothing. And you start reading books and you start hearing about this and that, about don't waste your life and whatever. And then I guess I've never really been that person that wants to just not do anything. Like I can take a week off, but I start feeling real guilty about just doing nothing. Yeah. So, getting that motivation to just do stuff. I don't really have a set point for where it started, but it's definitely been developing over time. Like, I would never, when I first joined the army, I wouldn't be like, all right, I'm going to go and run up this hill for 3 hours for no reason. It kind of developed over time. And I feel like looking back when I was 18, I thought like, okay, I can do whatever I want to do. And like, I thought I was quite like well motivated and stuff. Sure. But now looking back at my 18-year-old, like there's my 18-year-old self, there's so much I'll go back and just be like, just chill, like wait. Because everything just develops so quickly over sort of that 23 to 24 age group, where I was just like, that's where it all hit. So it wasn't so much in the military, it was just over time that it starts to pick up. So it was like those experiences plus like you reflecting on it to see like, oh man, like this is actually happening. There wasn't like a set time point. It was just all of it kind of converging together to make you kind of who you are now. So it was like, I guess everything in the past built together to make it. But then I also like the movies I watch and the books I read just drive it so hard into my like, I'll sit down and watch clips of like the short clips of a movie or something, and I'll just get super hyped up about like a gladiator quote or something like that. And I'll be like, echo in eternity and all this kind of stuff. I don't want to be that kid that sits there and then you hear all these other ones like life is so short, like every second counts and all that kind of stuff. And I think all of that over that time, like over an extended period of time, it's all just combined together to sort of you've got them always in your head.
Yeah.
So there's never a moment where I'm sitting there and I'm like, I don't want to do anything today. Like you've always, unless it's been a real bad day or like just nothing's going right, then you're kind of like, but there's usually something in my head, like a movie quote or someone saying something or a book I've read that's just saying, go and do something.
Yeah.
And so I'll sit there and I'll be like, I'll have a chill day. And then my chill day turns into, I'm going to go and do something stupid, run up a hill for too long or row on a rowing machine for too long or something like that.
Yeah, like you've done a marathon row, haven't you?
Yeah, well this year I decided I needed to sort of push the boundaries of what people think is challenging. So I think people definitely find things too, like if someone tells you a marathon's hard, you think it's hard before you even try it.
Yeah.
So I thought what I'm going to do is I'm going to think of things that are supposed to be hard and I'm going to go and do them, but I'm going to do like one a month. So I was like, what's something that would suck, just not be fun to do? And I thought, all right, first one was 1,000 burpees. I was like, okay, I'll sit down and do 1,000 burpees for time. And so I just put the Lord of the Rings on. I just watched Lord of the Rings while I was doing 1,000 burpees. And I was like, this sucks, but I was like, I just got to do it.
Yeah.
And then I was like, okay, that wasn't bad.
Yeah.
People say that was meant to suck. It wasn't that bad. So I was like, all right, I'll do something else. And then the next month I set out to do a 30K run. I ended up doing 36. So that was the next one. And then the month after that, I was like, I need to start pushing towards that marathon distance. So I signed up for a marathon in November, but I was like, I want to range it up. I don't just want to run. So I thought, hey, I'll jump on a rowing machine for a marathon. I'd never rowed.
Yeah.
Like never done any rowing. And I was like, sweet, I'll train for this, train for it for a month, like off and on. The longest one I did was a half marathon on a rowing machine about 4 days before the actual marathon.
God.
And then I just sat on it and I was like, sweet, I'll just pull this cable for 42 Ks. So I smashed it out for 42 Ks. Got off it. My hands were blistered. I had calluses for a month or something.
How's your ass? That sitting must have been
tight.
crazy.
Like it wasn't as bad as I thought. My neck hurt a lot.
Oh.
Because my head was just kind of hanging.
Yeah.
And so my neck started hurting real bad, and I had I had these skull candy headphones on, kind of similar to what we're wearing. And it must have just been a little bit of weight.
Just that slight weight pulling your neck down slightly.
Yeah, and so I got to the last hour and a half, and I was like, this is so painful. Took my headphones off, just like, I can't remember why I took them off, but it was like to hear something, talk to someone maybe. And then my neck felt fine. So I was
you
like,
had that weighted headgear.
yeah. And so I was like, well, because I was listening to David Goggins' podcast, and I was like, I took it off, put them on the ground, and the last hour and a half, I just sat on this treadmill, just staring at the distance, just no music or anything.
How long did it take you?
3 hours.
Right.
Just over 3, like 3 hours 10 or something.
Yeah, so you mentioned something quite interesting. I mean, that one was different because it was kind of inflicted by the fact that your neck was hurting. But in most of these things, when it gets to a time point, like there's a sticking point.
Yeah.
What were you telling yourself during those sticking points? And then what was the relief that you got after it? Because you know that you're like in that last little bit, almost about to finish.
Well, this is the thing I've found from a lot of these things now is you get to a point where, like, if you're going for a run, it's usually like a 10K run. Like you get to that 10K point. On the marathon, it was like, on the marathon row, it was like half an hour in or something. But you hit a point where you're like, oh, this is so hard. And then when you hit that point, it doesn't get harder. It just stays there. So you're like, the problem that most people have, I think, is that they get to that point where it's hard and they think it's going to keep getting harder, but it doesn't. And when you get to that point that's hard and you realize it's going to stay at that the whole way and you're fine, then that's when you can start pushing it, because you're like, right, well, it's not going to get any harder. And if I just stay here and just keep doing it, then I'll be fine. Yeah. Like it doesn't get harder. Yeah. It just stays there. Yeah. And then once you keep pushing through that and you keep doing it over and over again, you find out that that's the range, this thing that you can sit in for hours. Yeah. And you got to be comfortable there. Yeah, you have to embrace it. You just have to invite it in, make it a cup of tea, sit down. Sit down with it. But that's when you start to talk. Like a lot of people think like, oh, like what do you even do? I can get lost in my thoughts now. I'll just sit there and I'll think about a movie for ages or something. And you just think of anything. Like after a while, it doesn't even become an action of, all right, what am I going to think about? You just sit there and you go off on tangents about whatever.
Yeah.
And eventually you can just sit in that spot for ages.
Absolutely.
Yeah. And it's not till maybe the final 10 minutes that you're like, oh, it's really hard again, because you know you're about to finish.
That's true.
And so that's when you start thinking the end here.
Yeah.
Right? But if you're an hour and you're like, I've got 4 hours to go, don't think about that 4 hour point. Just think, just stay where I am and I'll just cruise through this bit and eventually it ends.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Because I remember like in some of the WODs, some of the longer ones, I just like sing songs in my head.
Yeah.
Or like think about really silly things. And I just remember it like until when you're not thinking about the time, time flies.
Yeah.
And then when you start thinking about it again and you're like, oh, I'm only this much in. Once you start thinking about how much left you have to go, it sucks.
As you start seeing that second tick over, you're like, oh God, oh no, there's another, oh, I've got to wait. Yeah.
So that's in the physical, but like what do you kind of, I mean, because you work a job, you've worked jobs, and kind of time is always going to be this constant factor, right? It's going to be this thing where you have to get there. You still have to embrace things because there's going to be days where it does suck.
Yeah.
Have you been able to like channel some of that thinking into what you're doing, or is that still a work in progress?
So
just like being able to embrace whatever situation you're in and try to like make it as good as possible.
In terms of physical or just anything?
No, so like this is expanding beyond the physical now.
I guess like just being comfortable where you are.
Yeah.
Yeah. I think I get real. I always want to go and do something like crazy almost.
Yeah.
So I don't like sitting in places where I'm like too complacent. But then along with that, I think a lot of people have this as well, is you don't want to go out and do something and then be seen bad at it.
Oh, right.
Especially if you've been putting in effort. And so I find like if no matter where I am, I'm always like, well, I want to be doing something different. And it kind of gives you that itchy feet. But then if you know you're not going to be good at it, you got to like, and you don't want people to see you fail at it.
Right.
So you kind of end up cruising a little bit in certain things. But yeah, I always get itchy feet. I've always like wanted to do something different. I've been through like a ton of different jobs and changing degrees and stuff like that. And I'm always just wanting to do something different.
Yeah.
So I guess it's kind of hard to get in that place of just being.
Sure.
Yeah.
Yeah, because it's kind of like trying to find that balance between getting comfortable but then also getting complacent and just being like, am I here because I'm comfortable and I'm embracing it, or am I here just because I don't want to push myself anymore?
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, I feel you. So you, talking about different things and stuff. So you went from, your army stuff, and then you actually enrolled to come down to uni, and that's where I met you.
Yeah.
Because you went through our beloved School of Phys Ed.
I did indeed.
What was the mind behind getting into Phys Ed?
So I moved down here from the military as my young silly self for a girl, and then so I told myself I wanted to study, which I didn't really. I've never been about books. Like I was never. I want to study. I want to learn.
Yeah,
it has sort of come on to me a little bit more. Like I do like learning things now, but I've never liked learning what someone's told me to learn.
Sure.
So if someone's like, "Go learn that," I don't want to. And so. Anyway, I came down to do physiotherapy about halfway into this first semester of health sci. I was studying about leaves, and I thought, this isn't physiotherapy. This is dumb. So I changed my mind and went to PE, changed into that second semester, met a few people there, but I was super standoffish. I'm super standoffish to everyone. It takes me a lot of time to sort of, I guess because of that high school bullying, to decide whether I want to trust someone to talk to them. So if I'm looking like I'm mad dogging someone from across the room, I'm not. I'm just, I sit there with a resting bitch face and I'm trying to check if I'm going to get like the piss taken out of me or something. But so PE degree, did that for the 4 years, kind of just cruised my way through. Once again, didn't like being told what to study, so a lot of the time I'd go and find something completely out of the assignment and just read about that because I thought it was interesting.
Yeah.
And I guess that's where I sort of get onto a lot of the people that I listen to as well, like just crazy facts and stuff like that. I thought they were a lot more interesting, and especially when I'm pushing myself into sort of physical tasks that are like a little bit strenuous. I don't want to be reading about like just something plain, right? So I want to be like, okay, what's hardcore? I want to go and figure out about that. So chunked my way through that. Was doing Kiwi hosting for the last 2 years, so that kind of helped me come out of my shell a bit. So I'd be a host for just a range of international students that would come in. Also worked at Unipol doing group fitness, talking on a mic. I guess that kind of helped me come out of my shell a lot as well. And a combination of all these things, and when they kind of helped me just put myself out there a little bit more, be a bit more comfortable talking to people. Still get a little bit edgy when you're talking to someone. Like, if you expect conflict in that conversation, you start getting a bit like, like skitsy-ish. But outside of that, those really helped. Just being able to talk to people out of the blue, like create conversations. Doesn't mean that I now go out of my way to talk to people. I still don't. I'm still real standoffish. But definitely studying was a massive change. I'm not happy about the reason I did it. Like, I'm not happy I came down because of a girl, but I'm happy that I did come down, because I wouldn't have met the people I met or learnt the life lessons otherwise. I'd probably still be a hothead in the army if I was, if I'd stayed there. Yeah. So I definitely learn a lot. Yeah. Learn a lot about myself as well. And there's a lot of people down in PE and everything that I learnt a lot of like emotional lessons from.
Interesting.
Yeah.
So what type of emotional things? You mean like being more in touch with your own emotions, being able to read emotions on other people? Or? Yeah.
So I came in with because I was a super hothead. Like had that boxing background, had that military background, and was just ego central. Like, let's go and like do whatever, get out of my way, sort of thing. But then I came down to Dunedin, and it was like, you go to a party or anything, and it's just, back when I first got here, it was, everyone was so chill. Like, no one was angry or anything. And I was like, I'm that dude that's angry. And so I was like, all right, New Year's resolution, I don't do these, but I was like, right, I'm going to just not be an angry person. And so I was like, I need to be a more chill person. So every time I'd hang out with people, I was trying to be more chill. It creeps in every once in a while. Like, I'll get angry at something and it'll be pointless. And then at the end of the day, I'll kind of look at it and be like, oh, you're an idiot. What did you do that for? But it was like a lot of the people I was around were like, why? Like, what's the point in being aggressive towards someone? Yeah. And then I was like, oh, okay, that's right. Well, so I definitely learned a lot, and I made a lot of friends that were just a lot more chilled, and having those conversations with like just being a better person and whatnot. I think that was a major developing point, and just not being that sort of military jackass sort of dude.
And what were the main steps that you found that you took? Like, I know the first one is just being aware that that's the type of person you are. Yeah. And then, I mean, besides the people being around you and they're the ones saying, you know, you don't have to do that, but what were the things within yourself that you knew you had to kind of do to be able to like make that a pattern?
Make it a pattern, or to stop what I was doing?
Yeah, to stop the pattern of you like just wanting to go out with all out aggression.
Yeah, well, I think it was just seeing people's reaction to the way, like, seeing people, how they reacted. Since I was standoffish, I was never the one that was giving the aggression in the first place. So if I'm at a party and I see some dude rocking and he's aggressive, and everyone's reaction to that of just, oh, that guy's a dick. Yeah. Then I was like, oh, I'm that dick as well. So I'm like, well, I don't want to be that. Like, I don't want to be that guy that everyone's just like, oh, here this guy comes again, he's going to be an asshole. Which, once again, that standoffish thing isn't good, because people see that and they're like, oh, he's probably just an aggressive person. But I think I found I didn't want to replicate that kind of bullying persona. Sure. And I wanted to be that guy that someone could be like, oh, I'm having a rough time over here. Like, can you help me out? And I'm going to help that person out. Like, if I see someone getting bullied, I'll usually go and help them out. Yeah. A lot of people don't help themselves, which I guess I'm not a fan of people that play that sort of party on like, oh, someone's picking on me and life sucks. And like, yeah, it does, but it's the same for everyone. Like, you've got to sort of push your way through that. If you need a bit of guidance, that's fine. But if you stay there and you know, and people have told you, you got to push past it, and you stay there, then that's kind of starting to get on you a lot more.
Yeah, that's interesting you say that, because I know there's a lot of people actually we're probably both quite similar in that vein, and that, you know, we've helped quite a few people.
Yeah.
We've also been in places that sucked, and you know, we don't tend to bring that up too much because, you know, we know that where we are is a lot more important, and our trajectory from where we were was very important for us to get through that journey. But there's some people who, you know, don't really want to get on that journey, and it's almost like they relish in the fact that they are that person who was so hard done by.
Yeah.
And I don't know, like, how it is that, because people will see you now, and they'll just assume you've always been like that, and then they won't want to listen to you because they'll be like, nah,
he never had it
that's
hard.
just the way he is. Like, he doesn't have it hard. So, like, how? I mean, not that you should always try to get across to other people, but like, has there been instances where you've tried to help people get through that, like, sticking point almost?
Through that, I guess I don't see too many, because if you're like that aggressive person, there's not too many people you listen to.
True.
And you definitely have to figure that out yourself. Like, you get a couple of people that'll be like, don't be a dick, and they'll leave you alone, and then you'll mull on that. And I might have said that to people and they might have changed, but you don't usually see them on that path for too long because they take off on their own thing. There's been people that I've seen struggle, and you help them out as best you can. I think it's important that you do give people time for that kind of stuff, because it's so easy to be like, oh, he feels like he's hard done by and he keeps playing on that. But if you remember yourself back then and you think, if that one person had said something to me, maybe I would have changed. So I've always got to sort of look at that and be like, well, I can help this person a little bit.
Yeah.
But at the same time, you got to realize that they've got to do a lot of it themselves.
Exactly.
Yeah. So you just got to guide them.
Yeah.
And it's quite hard to sort of think that you're in a position to do that. Because like you were saying, like, if someone's festering on the idea that they're hard done by, if you think about someone that talks about, I had a hard life, and you listen to them and you're like, oh, he's harping on again. He's talked about this. Compared to when you've talked about it, you think everyone cares about it when you're talking about it.
So true.
But when you hear someone talking about it, you're like, no one cares. So I think you got to remember that right then they're thinking that someone cares. And so you can't just sit there and be like, oh, I don't want to listen to this. Like, you got to kind of be like, all right, he's trying to get a point across here. Like, maybe help him out a little bit, and then he can change that a little bit.
Yeah.
But then you think to you, like, I think a lot, like, what's my opinion matter? And I think most people think that. Like, you don't think, oh, my opinion matters to everyone. Everyone's going to listen to it. Like, everyone always thinks, what's my opinion worth?
Yeah.
And it's not until you kind of realize what someone else's opinion meant to you that you can be like, well, my opinion's going to mean something to someone else.
Absolutely.
Well.
Yeah. Having that some sort of empathy, just letting some people know that, you know, you're not just seeing them for that superficial level of them. Like, you're actually seeing them at a deeper level, and in that way, you know, maybe it could be the one time that they do let it out, and it might be the final time because they finally realize that it's landed on someone, and that person has then, like, kind of just shifted them into some sort of direction. Yeah. So, yeah, you might be really right there.
It does take a lot of, like, for me, it was a lot of times when I'd hit a point, like something would have to happen, and it wouldn't always be someone being like, because if you're aggressive, it's not always going to be someone being like, oh, you're stopping a dick, because then you get aggressive to that. Yeah. It's more someone, like, stepping away from you, like a friend being like, I don't want to talk to you anymore because you're just grumpy all the time.
Right.
And I think that happened to me a couple of times where someone would be like, I don't want to be around you because you're just going to be angry. And, like, that would make you be like, well, okay, I need to sort that out. Yeah. Rather than them attacking you with that aggression. You can't, people say fight fire with fire, but if you're trying to tell someone aggressive, don't be aggressive, and you're being aggressive to them, it doesn't work. Yeah. It just makes a bigger fire.
Absolutely. That conflict resolution is just so important. And I think it is right. You know, the more people you deal with in any sort of situation, and the more people you can deal with at, like, high intensity situations, I think you're always going to be better in the long run because, like, you have more tools. So speaking of more tools, I just want to move over to the fact that you did some strength and conditioning. Yeah. So what was the reason behind that? Because you were just talking about how you didn't really like studying, and then you went and did more studies. So how is it that you got involved with that?
I mean, I'm probably like most people in the fact that I got to the end of my degree and realised I hadn't set myself up for anything, and was like, shit, I need to keep studying because I don't have a job. So I was like, right, I got this. I got a couple of things in place, but I haven't prepared myself enough to get a job. And at the same time, I was like, I've got a degree, but how many other people have a degree?
Sure.
Right. So right now, for me, well, my opinion is that the like PE, or if you want to be a personal trainer, the market's just saturated.
Sure.
Like there's so many people. And so if you want to do a little bit more, you got to sort of push yourself a little bit more.
Yeah.
So I thought I'll go and do another year, give me a lot more time to figure things out. Hopefully it gives me a bit more freedom as well, because that postgrad dip that I did was definitely a lot more free time. Like it wasn't go to lecture every day, because we had intensive blocks. So we had a lot of time off. Not off, but it was like self-directed learning, which I was into. Like I always, like I was saying before, I always liked doing my own thing. And on top of that, it was placement. So you kind of go around and just look at how other athletes sort of have progressed and and how, or where they are now, so where you could end up. I think I realized pretty early on that I wasn't gonna pursue a conditioning sort of role.
Like you didn't want to be a practitioner in strength conditioning?
No. I thought maybe here and there was little surges where I was like, okay, I could do that. But I think the end goal was I want to do something fast-paced. And so I was never like, I'm going to push to be like hardcore strength conditioning coach. I just wanted to be able to, I found it interesting. So I wanted to be able to, if someone asked me a question about it, I could answer it. Or if I didn't know the answer, I could go and get the answer. And I think the annoying part for that was, in a PE degree, probably the biggest thing I took away from that and a postgrad was the main answer for any question is it depends.
The two words, yeah.
It depends. And if someone's like, oh, so what program should I do for this? And you're like, well, it depends.
Yeah.
And you're never going to give them a straight answer. It's always, it depends, because there's so many factors, because no one's the same. So that was a little bit annoying, because I wanted to have a direct answer, but at the same time, it unlocked that sort of thinking of, I need to go and figure something out. Or if someone asks you a question, you've got to be really open-minded. You can't be, this is the direct answer. And so you can't, I think that's opened up me to think you can't have a massive opinion on something, because if you do, then you're closing off a whole bunch of other options.
Oh, yeah.
So you got to go into everything open-minded and think, I can go this way or this way, but don't judge either way severely, because you have to be able to change direction. So if someone asks you for a program on, I guess, a strength program, there's multiple ways to attack it. You can't, there's not just, I'll go this way. And if everyone else has another opinion, they're wrong. So that was really good for development, I think, as much as I wanted a definite answer. Yeah. But the postgrad, was definitely just a little bit more and a little bit more time, because I didn't really know where I was going. And I think that's a lot of people. I think you get to that point, you panic. So you're getting early 20s and you think, oh, I've got to work, because the world tells you have to work. So you're like, I need a job now, but you don't. You just take your time, figure things out, slow it down a bit.
Yeah.
I mean, everything's going to be there when you're done.
Exactly. But also on that, you get opportunities, because you got to go overseas. How did that come about?
Well, there was options to do placement. So the postgrad thing that we did was a lot about placement. And so there were options to go to a whole bunch of different places, and we had a contact in University of Washington. And so I thought that'd be a cool thing to do. I wanted to go to America because of my Kiwi hosting as well. So I knew people over there that I could see. Only problem is I was never made of money. So shout out to Jamie Blacksall, her mum paid for my accommodation over there.
Second shout out on the podcast, by the way.
Yeah, you must be famous. So yeah, she helped me out with that a lot. And we went over to University of Washington and worked with some of the athletes, basketball team, volleyball teams, softball teams, which was really eye-opening, because just the way they did things. The biggest thing was the money. They had so much money.
Oh, yeah.
Like college athletes over there, basketball team over there, compared to the uni basketball team over here, they don't compare. It's just crazy. And these dudes are like 7 foot. And you're like, what? They're just huge. And I didn't even, like, they were the tallest people I'd ever seen. I was like, where'd you come from? Like I thought it was like Men in Black, you know, when they go into the facility and there's like aliens walking around. I was like, where does this guy come from?
Yeah.
And the like tall dudes didn't start coming till the later on. Like the dudes came in first. I was like, oh yeah, they're normal size. They were like the short dudes, and then the tall dudes came in. And you're like, Jesus.
And they're all just like extremely athletic as well. Like these are the best of the best. This is not like some people that are just like, oh, you're tall. Have you ever thought about basketball? Like their whole life has been up until this point to play basketball.
Yeah. And so pretty much their whole university career is around that now as well. So they're just basketball is it. And so with a population now big America is, I mean, you're going to find those people. Sure. I didn't realize that at first. I was like shocked. But the way they were programming and things, like there were a lot of different opinions, which were cool to value. Like I said, you don't want to go in and be like, this is the only way to do something. So there were a whole bunch of different people with different ideas. A lot of it was confusing at first as well. Like just things like certain deadlifts and stuff like that. Like they were doing a lot of cleans, but then they were doing trap bar deadlifts. And I was like, well, it doesn't transfer as well as a front deadlift into a clean. And then, but they were like, well, this is a reasoning behind that. And then you'd be, okay, that makes sense. So it was good because you'd go over with questions, and as long as you ask, then you're going to find out. But if you sit back and you're like, they're doing this wrong, why aren't they doing this? And you don't ask, then they're not going to come and tell you because they got no idea you're thinking about it.
Absolutely.
So it was good to be able to ask questions like that.
Yeah. I think that's like a lot of things though, right? Like it's really hard to know what people are thinking about things unless you ask or unless you like bring something up, because there's going to be times where you're like angry at something, or you're just going to be like, oh, that's wrong. And until you actually find out like the context behind it, that's why it's always going to be, it depends. It really depends because this sort of thing.
Well, that was like, like at work, we were talking about this before, but like at work, I'd done a file and I thought it was done all right. And then I got like it sent back to me and they were like, you got to change this. And I saw it and I was like, oh, who does this guy think he is telling me I'm wrong? So I went and looked through the guidelines and stuff, and I found all this like evidence to back me up, and I was like, this is why I'm right. Sent this guy an email like real angry, like, yeah, he'll get the point. And then he emails back, oh, sorry, I didn't even know that. And I was like, oh. I just ranted on to everyone about how this guy's trying to like dig me out from behind, and the whole time he just didn't even know. So
yeah.
I think you need to be able to address things in a less aggressive stance, which has been one of my goals recently, is to be able to have a confrontation with someone without conflict in it. So you don't have, just because you have an argument with someone and they've got a point against you, doesn't mean they hate you. It just means that you've got different opinions. And so you need to be able to sit down and discuss that rather than go in heated and be like, why do you hate me?
Yeah.
Because that's not the case. They just don't see eye to eye at the same time. Maybe they just didn't understand something.
Oh, yeah, because there's a lot of people running themselves into the ground right now, holding a grudge against someone who has no idea what they've done.
Yeah, you're sitting there taking your whole day to think about them, and they're not thinking about you. No. You're at home like, oh, this guy did this to me. They're at home like, oh yeah, what am I going to have for dinner?
Exactly.
Like, they don't care.
Yeah.
Why are you so caught up?
They're not sitting at home like, yeah, my plot, it's working. Like,
they
have no idea that they even did what they did.
You got to think that like their life isn't about making yours worse. They've just had this minute where it's like, okay, that happened. You've done it too. You've done it to people, and people are probably doing the same with you.
Exactly.
So I don't know why.
Yeah, so bring it to the forefront without like coming in all guns blazing.
Yeah.
And being able to just like, how can we have this conversation where we're both level-headed and I can apologize and say, shit, that was my bad, sorry, and then getting them to admit something that they did that upset.
Well, that's why it's good to bring out like that whole extreme ownership book as well. Is you want to come forward and be like, I did this wrong, so you're putting yourself down to that level before you're coming in on a like high horse, like, what are you doing down there? This is why you're doing that wrong. You want to come in and be like, all right, I did something wrong as well. Why were you doing this bit? But you don't want to be aggressive about it or conflictive. You want to be, okay, could we have done this better?
Yeah.
How could I have helped better? Rather than, you did this wrong. Change it.
Yeah.
Because you're not going to make friends like that.
Yeah, it's easy to place blame on people because, like, if you don't take responsibility, then you don't think that you have to then change the way that you are.
Yeah.
But the thing is, at the end of the day, unless you can take responsibility for the stuff that you are doing, you're always going to have that issue with someone down the line because that's what you do. That's you.
And you've got no control over slight control over how someone acts. But that's not, you can't be like, you need to change this. And if someone came up to you and said, hurry up and go change this, you're not going to go change it. You don't want to change it for them.
Yeah.
But if you think about what can I change, and then you do the best about how you can change something, and then people see that in a more positive light, then maybe they decide to do the same. Then it starts to progress a lot better than if you're like, change this, and then the rest of the day you're angry about that whole conflict, and then you're both angry and nothing gets done.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And just on the topic of conflict resolution, okay, so we're really pushing the time here, but it's been an awesome conversation. I just wanted to talk about your aspirations, I guess, going forward with conflict resolution, but also your ability to affect change, I guess, in communities. But at kind of using some of your military work, but then also just being out there with other people. You are hoping to get into the police college to then graduate to be in the police. Where did that come from, and what kind of your timeline with all of that?
Yeah, so I guess, like I've said, I've always wanted to be in that spot. I want to be in a fast-paced job, and so I want to be able to go out there and stop. I think this all stemmed from high school. Like, I want to stop bullying. On a bad day, sometimes I'm not as good at it, but I want to go out and be like, hey, that little guy needs help, I'm going to go help him. And so if someone's in a position, like if I'm in a position where I can help someone from someone that's bullying them, say some dude's beating up his kid or something, if I'm in a position to help that kid and that kid's not, then I feel like I should go and help that kid. So that's the direction I want to go for any career. I want to be in a spot where I'm helping people that can't help themselves in a physical manner.
Yeah.
So so the two options, I kind of want to go back towards a role in the army, like a higher tier role, or policing. But I don't want to do policing in an area that's chill.
Sure.
So I signed up to go to Auckland, into Counties Manukau, which is apparently where the fire is, so that's where I want to go.
Yeah.
And just, if there's, gang activity or whatever, if there's kids getting hurt, I want to be able to stop that from happening.
Sure.
So I don't want those kids to have to grow up being bullied or whatever like that. It's a lot different to, like, there's different personalities in the police. There's, you can be that guy that's understanding, or you can be that guy that just stops something, right? So I want to be that physical presence. And if you work me alongside with someone that's a bit more like emotionally there to help, then that's cool. Otherwise I'll have to work on that bit myself as well. Because I'm definitely more of a door kicker type personality. I just want to burst in and stop something.
Yeah, but by the sounds of things, I think you're a lot more aware of that. Like the fact that you can actually say that about yourself, and then also find ways to bring you back when you have to.
Yeah.
Because I guess depending on the situation, like there are going to be times that calls for you to be like all guns blazing, feeling ready to go.
Yeah.
Then there's going to be the times where you just like, oh yeah, this is my personality, but I'm just going to reel it back just a little bit.
Yeah, definitely. Well, sometimes you don't need it. You don't need a door kicker if the door's open. Like, you can't see me to boot a door down if it's just going to open as soon as you turn it. So sometimes you got to be aware of the situation. You can't get so hot-headed that you just go and do it anyway. Like, you got to be aware. And if you get complacent at any point with, okay, this is the personality I have, that's how it's going to stay, you're never going to improve.
Oh, yeah.
So you need to be like, okay, what am I bad at? Hear opinions on that and then move forward. Like, whenever someone tells me, like, oh, you're too much of a door kicker or something like that, like you're too much of a meathead, I'll be mad. Like, I'll be pissed off that they said that to me. But then a day or two later, I'll be like, yeah, they're right. And then you start to develop. That's when you're like, all right, okay, I'll move on from here.
Yeah.
And if you sit there and you just hold that grudge forever, then you're not going to get better and you're just going to stay where you are. And what's the point in your life if you're not going to develop?
You label everyone as haters. Like, these guys are haters. They don't know what it's about. But it's like, you should probably just have
and they're developing and you're sitting back in your little hole like, oh.
Cool. So the final question, I've actually got two questions this one because we actually have a little book club going. So the first question will just be, what are you reading at the moment? And maybe something that you've read recently or even a book that you've read over time that you've just been like, yes, this has taught me a lot.
So currently I'm reading 12 Rules by Jordan Peterson. About to start Discipline Equals Freedom.
Oh yeah,
by Jocko Willink.
Good old Jocko.
Jocko Willink is probably my big go-to. I'd say if you want to read a book about how to develop, especially leadership-wise, go to Jocko. Jordan Peterson, I know, gets a lot of criticism. But if I was to say anything about that book, it's even if you're going to disagree with the book or you don't agree with his opinion, understanding his opinion more is worthwhile. Like if you don't agree with it, that's fine. But at least understand what it is that you're disagreeing with.
Yeah.
Right. So those are probably, I'd say 12 Rules is a good book, but you're going to have a lot of like hearsay. You're going to be like, I don't agree with that. I agree with this, but just don't go in with the wrong attitude and be like, I'm not going to agree with any of it. You might pick up one sentence in there and that's worth it. But yeah, moving on from that, probably onto some Jocko Willink books, get that meathead going again.
Yeah, mate. Yeah, no, that's a real classic example of like meathead examples.
Yeah.
But then how does it apply to business? How does it apply to life? And everything, just like the principles in that book, everyone can apply at least somewhere in your life. And speaking of those principles, recently, the one thing that you do every single day to optimize your day. Yeah. What is that? So that daily routine or that daily habit?
Yeah. So at the end of the day, I've got a whiteboard inspired by one of Jocko's books, The Code, The Evaluation. And it's got about 15 points on it that each point is, for example, one's physical, one's intelligence, one's goals, one's humility. And they're all scaled 1 to 5. And every day I go back and at the end of my day, I'll reflect on what I've done and grade myself 1 to 5 on each thing, just to be like, all right, this is what I need to improve on tomorrow. This is what I should have done better. And it just keeps you accountable for what you've done. So one of them's emotions, if I have a situation where someone said something to me and I just hot-headed replied to them and said, like, you didn't even know, sort of whatever, I can go back home at the end of the day and be like, that was a mistake. I didn't get anything out of that. Your emotions today were a 1 out of 5. Get better. So that's what I try to do every day. And then on that, I just have other tick-offs that I have, like a whole bunch of goals. I have to do a certain amount of workouts in a week, sort of thing like that. Yeah.
So that's just some sort of accountability to yourself.
Yeah, and it really helps. Like it might seem stupid, but if you go at it properly and if you're honest, like if you go in there and you're like, yeah, I did a 10K run today, I'm going to get a 5 out of 5. Like, come on. Was that really a 5?
Yeah.
Like sit down and be like, okay, that was a 2. Like it was marginal. Like I wasn't pushing. It felt okay, but I wasn't going hard. Just make sure you're keeping yourself like accountable for things, because you can't just get 5s all the time.
Exactly. Yeah. Because then why would you have to improve if you're
you're never going to improve.
Anyway?
Like 5 should be almost unobtainable.
Yeah. Nice. Very, very good. So that has been another episode of the Sick As podcast. Josh Fallon bringing some heat. It was actually quite cool. I think we went through a really cool chronological journey and just seeing how you've developed so much over that time. And I think for some people who do listen to this and they've never really had a conversation with you, or they've had small talk with you, just going to be like, damn, he's got a lot. He's got a lot going on in that noggin of his. Yeah, so all the best for the future, and hopefully we'll stay in touch with you, mate.
All right, thanks, man.
Take care.
Cheers.